Hey, good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's about 7:40 a.m. on this TGIF Friday, August 30th, a day before my older sister's 49th birthday. That's right. She'll be the big 50 next year. But anyway, I wanted to come on here because, scrolling through Facebook, I noticed something that really stuck out to me. And I'm going to pull it up, hopefully without any issues here while I'm recording. Hopefully without any issues while I'm recording and all that. But basically, I saw this on on the Facebook page. The Facebook page put an article out from SE Scoops on the main page, SE Scoops. And basically, this is what the article says, and I quote. The article says, AEW is throwing around huge money to sign/keep wrestlers, and people in WWE believe this could disrupt the industry's entire pay structure. Now, the reason they post this is because it's actually a quote that was said on the Wrestling Observer. Now, Wrestling Observer, take that with a grain of salt because we don't know if it's from Mike Pincini, we don't know if it's from Brian Alvarez. We don't know if it's from Dave Meltzer. We don't know which one said this. All we know is it's coming from the Wrestling Observer. So whoever it is, take it with a grain of salt. Now, if it's Alvarez and Mancini, I would say, they're more reliable in what they're saying than Meltzer right now. So if it's one of those, so if it's the first two and not the latter, you might be okay with, believing this. If it's the latter, well, it's kind of 50-50 right now with him. But this is what they said on the Wrestling Observer, and I quote, according to SE Scoops. They said, quote, according to the WWE side, the AEW deal and the offers to Daniel Garcia and Swerve Strickland were considered bad for the sport because the offers are so far over what WWE perceives as the market value for both Garcia and Strickland, and unquote. And that's from the Wrestling Observer. Again, let me reread this. Again, this is from the Wrestling Observer. Again, we don't know who said it, but it is from the Wrestling Observer. And I quote, according to the WWE side, the AEW deal and the offers to Daniel Garcia and Swerve Strickland were considered bad for the sport because the offers are so far over what WWE perceives as the market value for both Garcia and Strickland, unquote. And again, that is from the Wrestling Observer, from this article posted on the Facebook page of SE Scoops, which is part of the highlighted Facebook articles that get posted from those pages by Facebook, from the places that I actually follow on Facebook. So the question obviously is, why would they say this? Why would they go out and say this? Why would, Wrestling Observer, again, depending on who it is, why would they say this? Why would anybody in WWE, who they might have contact with, tell them this? Or basically, why would anybody in WWE tell other outlets who tell Wrestling Observer in return, why would they tell them this? What's the reasons? Like, what is the big deal, basically, with, WWE, having an issue with AEW paying big money to keep Daniel Garcia, to keep Swerve Strickland, and the possibility of, let's say, them getting a big TV rights deal. What's the issue? And a lot of people will have their opinions. If you are a full-fledged AEW fan, you'll come out and say, oh, they're just upset because they didn't get a chance to sign them. Because they've been on such a signing raid of talent over the past, year. I mean, look, they got Ethan Page, they got Jade Cargill, they're possibly going to get the Machine Guns and the Lucha Brothers and so on. So it's like, they've been on such a big, consistent signing raid that, like I said, fan loyalists to AEW, if you will, hardcore fans or what have you, basically, they will come out and say that that's how WWE feels. That, they're just saying this because they're upset they didn't get an opportunity to get Strickland, to get Garcia when they could have. Now, That's their opinion. That's their opinion. Now, some in the middle, both that are just both fans of both companies and want both companies to succeed along with other companies like TNA and MLW, they'll say probably the same thing. They'll probably say the same thing, that maybe AEW, not AEW, but WWE. WWE is kind of salty. Or maybe, okay, hold on, I'm getting a little tongue-tied. Sorry, it's early. Like I said, it was 7:40 when I started this, and it's about 7:43 now, on this Friday morning. But anyway, as I was saying, there are some that are fans of all of wrestling that want to see all companies succeed. And basically, they might agree with what the hardcore, loyalists to AEW will say, that maybe WWE is just putting this out there. If it's true that, they are a little salty, they didn't get a chance to sign these two. But they may also say, that the WWE side of, things has a point. Like, why is Tony Khan signing the likes of Swerve Strickland, signing the likes of Daniel Garcia, to these massive contracts? Why are they agreeing to a potential massive TV media rights deal contract when, basically, they're not at that position yet. They're not at that position as a company yet to really afford themselves these opportunities. Why would they do this? And, that's a good point. Those are good questions to ask as well. Now, if you're a WWE loyalist, over AEW, and any other company, you're hoping and praying that this causes AEW to go into the red and potentially out of business. Let me tell you something right now. We may not like how business structurally that AEW is, being positioned at, but I am in agreement with a lot of people, and I said this in my description when I talked about Ricochet being in AEW now. I said that basically, the wrestling business, and I parenthesized this, I said the wrestling business needs AEW. They need them. They need this company to exist so that talent, independent-wise, or those talents in WWE or TNA that are, contractually coming up on their final months and days, have a place to go to reapply their craft, reinvent themselves, and remind people of, as to why WWE signed them, as to why TNA signed them, or MLW signed them, or why Japan signed them. Give them a chance to show the world and remind the world of who they are. So that's why a company like AEW does need to exist. But getting back to what I was saying, there are hardcore WWE loyalists that will look at the fact that, this is going to hopefully cause AEW to go into red and either go out of business or have to be sold off to somebody else. And that's their opinion. If they feel that way, that's their opinion. But, why is this back and forth, so vile? Not vital, but why is this back and forth so, I guess you could say, controversial, if you will, when it comes to what AEW is spending? Well, I think, in my opinion, the reason, the WWE side of things, according to Wrestling Observer, those at WWE, the reason they feel maybe AEW is kind of going overboard unnecessarily with these, basically these signings, these massive signing contracts to keep talent like a Strickland, like a Garcia, and whoever else, an MJF, you name it. The reason they feel like, AEW is kind of, not, focusing on, what truly needs to be paid out for the value of these talents is because of the fact that unlike WWE, AEW is not on the road, as much as WWE. I mean, AEW tried to be on the road, don't get me wrong, with their house shows, or the house party shows, whatever they were called, excuse me there, it's early. But, it failed. And Tony Khan decided to pull back on it until he felt the time was right to redo it again. And I think that might be, in my opinion, why people at WWE, if what we're hearing is true, are saying what they're saying. They're basically saying that, look, if you're not going on the road, like, we do, then why are you spending all this massive money, all this, moolah, if you will, to keep certain talent, on your roster when you could just let that talent go, elsewhere, or just, negotiate with them and say, hey, we want to keep you, but this is what we're going to pay you, because we're not on the road, we're not, working constantly 360 plus days a year, so we can't afford to pay you what you feel you're, valued at. And that's the main thing here. It's basically, according to the Observer, like I read, it's about the value. It's how WWE perceives someone like a Garcia, perceives someone like a Strickland. Like, yeah, they're great talents, but they're not worth the money massively that, AEW is paying them. Like to WWE, they're the kind of talent, if you will, that needs to earn that opportunity. They need to earn that right to get that kind of a pay raise as a professional wrestler, sports entertainer. That's what they need. That's what they need to do. I mean, I'm sure WWE feels the same way about MJF. As much as they want to have MJF on the roster in the future, and believe me, they will look at someone like Maxwell and say, yeah, he's a great talent. He's like he's a generational talent like he says he is. He's got all the boxes checked off, but he's not worth what, fans and even himself and even Tony Khan feels he's worth in our eyes, the WWE's eyes, until he proves it. You see, to WWE, it's about proving it. And to them, the value is only raised up once you prove yourself, in the company, in their system. And they look at AEW doing this, as as they put it, as disrupting that system. Like, you're going to basically make a lot of talents that you sign, whether they were talents that worked for us that never got an opportunity to shine, whether they're talents that never stepped foot in our company and only made names for themselves on the independents and elsewhere. You're going to disrupt the system by making them believe that they are worth more than what they really are, because they have yet to prove it. They have yet to prove it. I mean, you think WWE, working with TNA right now, looks at all the potential talent they can sign and say, yeah, these guys are worth signing, but they're not worth the money they believe or fans believe they're worth? That instead we're going to make them earn that, paycheck. We're going to make them earn that opportunity to make that money? Do you think they don't think that same way about a Jordan Grace or Josh Alexander or Joe Henry, that? Of course they do. They think the same thing about, they think about the same thing about them as they do when they see what AEW is doing with Garcia and Strickland. You see, to them, Garcia and Strickland, like I said earlier, are great talents, but they have yet to prove themselves, as the kind of talents that deserve to have massive contracts. As well as they feel AEW, even though it's going into its 5th year of existence, on television, in about a month, even though they're going to hit the 5-year anniversary of Dynamite in about a month, if you will, and I think they've already hit the 1-year anniversary or 2-year anniversary of Collision. 1 year, I think. What, is it 1 year? I think it is 1 year. But anyway, even with them heading into that 5-year anniversary, in October, WWE, from their point of view, from a business perspective, looks at the fact that AEW hasn't earned the right. They haven't proved themselves yet to want to negotiate the kind of deal that they want to negotiate with Warner Bros. Discovery. I mean, this is why I think when you hear reports of there's still a lot of red tape to go through, I think what that means is a deal is being made, but there's still a little tit for tat. There's still a little, I guess you could say, tit for tats to take care of, because there's certain things that Tony Khan wants, but WBD is not going to allow. So there's got to be like a middle ground. Like, the contract is pretty much, in my opinion, maybe 70%, 75% ready to go and be signed, but you got that 30% to 25% that still has to be negotiated on, and that 30% to 25% could play a factor in something not going through before, time is up, before the year is up. So to me, I think, when WWE says these kind of things, according to this report, they're basically saying that what AEW needs to do is they need to restructure financially behind the scenes how they sign talents to contract or re-sign talents to contract, as well as how to negotiate a right and proper TV rights deal to where over time they can legitimately earn that money they feel they believe in, earn all those opportunities, all those privileges, that they believe they deserve from the WBD. That's my opinion as to what I'm hearing here. What I'm hearing from, this report according to Wrestling Observer. That basically it's all about WWE looking at AEW as being a company that's being run in a way financially that doesn't understand how to, structure the finances from signing talents to making TV deals correctly, and that they still have a lot to learn. Tony Khan still has a lot to learn. But is that true? Or is maybe what some I guess you could say neutral wrestling fans and hardcore AEW loyalists, could it be that they're right? Could it be that WWE is just salty at the fact that they couldn't get Garcia, they couldn't get Strickland, when they had the opportunity? Could it be that? We don't know. We don't really know. But I can tell you this, whether you believe what the Wrestling Observer says here, again, whether this is something that Alvarez, Mancini, Meltzer said or whoever, whether you believe what they say or not, and again, Alvarez and Meltzer are more believable than, not Meltzer, but Alvarez and Mancini, I should say, are more believable than Meltzer right now. But whether you believe it or not, this is something that's going to get people talking. It's going to get them talking for a bit. Because, is there truth? Is there truth to what WWE is saying? I do apologize for that email notification there, that you heard that little vibration. But could it be true that what WWE is saying, that they feel AEW is going to hurt the business, financially doing what they're doing? Or could it be that WWE, as some neutral fans and hardcore loyalists to AEW are saying, could be true? Could they just be salty? We'll have to hopefully we'll get an answer down the line. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Love to hear from each and every one of you on this. What do you think it could be? Do you think, maybe WWE is salty that they couldn't get certain talents and all that? Do you think maybe there is truth to WWE feeling this way about AEW financially spending stuff and disrupting the system and hurting, the business in a sense financially, if not themselves? What are your thoughts? Comment down below. Or do you believe any of this? Let me know. Comment down below. Love to hear from each and every one of you. Like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel, guys. It helps me out in a big, big way. Also, check out my Teespring store. Link is in the description. Get yourself a t-shirt or a mug. There's a lot of stuff there that you can't get anywhere else that I think you'll truly appreciate. Also, guys, check out where you can find my content elsewhere from Odyssey.com, Rumble.com, iHeartRadio, Spotify for podcasters, and so on. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Love to hear from you. How do you feel about what the Wrestling Observer says here, what's been reported from what they're saying they've heard? Let me know, and until then,